We'll call the July Water and Wastewater Utilities Commission meeting to order. We'll start out with roll call.
Engel?
Here.
Newman?
Here.
Coleman? No, Liebenow?
Here.
Frings?
Here.
Asprey?
Here.
And Bushki.
Here. Before we get started, let's introduce our new utilities.
I guess, yeah, everything, this is Gwen Owens, she's new utilities accountant, slash clerk. We have her up front, so there's a point of service, at the front. It's a friendly smiling
Here.
face, yeah, right with the deputy clerk as well, so.
Great, just started
Doing
this
great.
week, right?
Day, what did you say, day?
I'm on day 11.
Day 11.
Oh, you're a veteran.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
Fully vetted now, okay.
Not till after this meeting. You're not full.
Yes, this is true.
This is the last of it.
We'll move on to approval of consent agenda, which consists of June 4th meetings. Huh?
Citizens comment.
Oh, citizens' comments. I skipped over citizens' comments. Good thing the vice president was here. Seeing no citizens' comments, we'll move on to the consent
Is there
agenda.
citizens' comments? No.
No, she's here for
Okay.
something else.
Okay, I know there was citizens' comments that were supposed to be present tonight, and that's part of a decision later, but I don't know if you guys, if they do happen to come in, if you'll.
Is that the 350 person?
Yeah.
That is me.
That is you. Okay, perfect.
You said that was on the agenda.
Yep, so it's on the citizens' comments, and then it's on later on the agenda, so that the commission can make a decision right away too, so.
I'm sorry, I should say for that. Okay.
I have it as close as possible to the top as I can.
Thank you. Mary Winter, representing Pine Ridge Condos. We had a water main pipe leak underneath building 350. Apparently it started in April and it was not repaired until June 11th. So looking at the first quarter of 2024, that building averaged about 3,000 gallons a month. The bill 326 through 429 was 5,800 gallons,
That's cubic feet.
or there you go, whatever the number in hundreds. 429 to 528 was 11,800. 529 to 626 was 100 or 10,100. So we're looking for a credit or refund of 18,700. I don't know if you credit or refund, but that is what did not go back into the city sewer system. That went into the ground. Town and Country can attest to that because they had to come out and do a lot of repair of the roadway. So that is our request.
So we'll discuss it when we get to it on the
All
agenda.
right, any questions about what I'm talking about?
Where did this break, Tim?
Underneath a sink in one of the units.
And nobody could hear that?
It was down probably 3 feet. And the whole,
So
it
it's
was
underneath, that's a slab this is on, and it was underneath the slab, you're saying?
about 3 feet. It was really down there, really deep there, the shovel and digging.
Yeah, Bernhard was there for several hours.
It was in there.
There was issues with them. I never had one break below the floor, but we've had where they spliced them together because it's a bigger copper line and it's only so long.
That's what we were hoping for, that would have been easier to
Yeah,
find.
right. I think almost every one of them complexes there, but had that break on them.
Okay.
You know.
Because we had Kyle here from American Leak Detectors. He's the one that actually found it. He spent 4 or 5 hours there.
Yeah, we didn't get
And
that.
he did find it eventually.
So it did, so my understanding is the hole was facing downward, so it was shooting straight down. It was,
So you found it when you read the meter then?
No, they called for high usage and
They had been searching for high
it was
usage when
internal
everything was
plumbing,
servicing.
we could shut
we shut
the
it.
main off, but we couldn't stop it. There's only 1 meter, so we didn't know where it was going. Going through the meter somewhere in that building. I mean, that's all, I don't know, personal lifestyles, who's doing what in that building.
Well, it must have found its way to the creek somehow that it never
But
came up.
Found its way to all the way around the building. They plugged all the tiles when they Town and Country dug it up. It was like a swamp in there. I mean, they had to dig down. It was still wet in there.
I know.
It's still mushy when you drive. There's a lot of water in there.
So that's a lot of gallons, or what, cubic feet, a lot. That
We
didn't-
knew it was leaking and Mark his name?
Yeah.
He was trying for weeks or months. We'd go over there all the time and it was his thing, you know, I couldn't really do nothing, you know, I seen the meter spin, I can't help you out, you know, it's on your side, so.
So how long you think this was going on?
Since like January, February,
No, I think
Right.
for April.
I
April?
think sometime in April,
Yeah.
but I was
Oh, and
looking
the
at the
first time we
bills.
went out there, I don't know.
If you look after, if you want to review it before we get to that,
March,
just after the
April.
bills, there's a screenshot of the condo association billing, and it has just some scribbles at the bottom there, but see, the April 30th billing has a higher than average usage there, so starting there and going back.
So it wasn't leaking at a joint, it was just a hole worked
The
through it?
hole in it, yeah, well, wasn't a lot of, it wasn't bedded, you know, just, there's a rock, it rubbed. Rubbed a pretty good
Yeah, no
hole.
one's
Cody,
blame. I looked into
I think somebody's even got the pipe laying somewhere, they kept it, I think Mark's got it, was hanging on to it.
All right, we'll get to that in a little bit.
All right, thank you.
Next is approval of consent agenda. June 4th meeting, minutes and both the water and wastewater utility bills. So take a motion and a second and have discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Is there any questions or comments? Well, Frames and
So sorry, motion.
by Frames, second by Osprey.
That works.
I didn't write it down.
That's okay.
Any questions? If not, we'll take roll call on that.
Engel,
Aye.
Newman,
Aye.
Lebno.
Aye.
Franks.
Aye.
Asprey.
Aye.
Bushki.
Aye. Discussion possible action regarding the loss of 350 Brookside Drive.
I already have it. All right. So first sheet, just after your bills. So we took it measured the hole size, and we did a calculation on the potential water loss that the hole on the pipe can cause with the pressures in the area. So it's an average monthly 25 unit loss. So on the customer billing sheet, it says customer inquiry at the top here. They do sit pretty close to that 26 to 31, the average monthly. For April, May, and June, it took the average that their usage, so it was 58 units, 118, and then 101, so partially into that month it was fixed. And took a reduction of those units for what a potential credit could be on that for sewer use only. It was it was in the driveway too. I know where it had surfaced, if that explains it, came under the building and it was surfacing in the driveway. So that was what was causing them some trouble to was that just a coincidence? They were resurfacing the driveway at the same time and they couldn't keep it dry essentially?
Yes, so
So the
that's
water.
delayed our asphalt a little bit.
2 projects gone wild.
So
So
she's,
what have we done in the past? Didn't we give them the credit on the sewer because it didn't go down the sewer, but they paid for the water?
Correct.
that's what she
Yeah, and
said.
that's what I have calculated there too.
I'll make a motion, we do that.
So that's the 981?
So yeah, that's the 981.72. So the first month, April's credit was 33 units of the 58 used. May was 93 units of the 118 used, and June was 76 units of the 101 used.
I'll second.
So a motion and a second to credit them
981.72.
981.72. Any further comments, questions? Now we'll take roll call on that.
Engel.
Aye.
Newman.
Aye.
Levino.
Aye.
Franks.
Aye.
Asprey.
Aye.
Bushki.
Aye. So you get that? You got credit for 981?
So that's just a credit on the account?
It'll credit back to the account if that helps for your usage there. I don't know how you guys calculate your billing, but it'll be in a dollar amount credit. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Can I leave?
Yeah.
I just wanted to go back to work, so.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. See you. Thank you.
Next is presentation and discussion of 2023 audit by Bethany Ryers of Baker Tilly.
Hello.
How many years you been doing this for us?
Well, I've been at Baker Tilly for about 18 years, so probably
I think
15-ish.
that, all right. Every year, yeah.
So it's a pleasure to be here again to present your 2023 utility audit results. In your audit packet, of course, you have the audited financial statements for the utilities. You also have a nice report with a pretty blue cover that says Audit Insights and Results Report. I'm going to talk briefly about that report and then just go through some high-level financial metrics. So in that report, that Audit Insights and Results Report, it kind of discusses the total results of the audit and what we do as part of the audit. So what our roles and responsibilities are and what we are required to communicate to you as a governing body. Ultimately, we are hired by the commission. We are required to report directly to the commission. And so this is kind of all of that information included. So I just want to hit on a few key points that aren't a surprise, things that you've seen in prior years. But we are required to review internal controls around the financial statement segments. So included on page 6 of that report, there is a discussion of internal control matters. And as in prior years, and as is very common with a utility of your size, you do have a material weakness related to segregation of duties and financial statement close. And that is because, we do have a few audit adjustments that were noted as part of the audit, and because we prepared the financial statement schedules that are also included in your packet. And again, that is pretty common with a utility of your size. The majority of the municipalities in the state do get a material weakness. There's always a cost benefit to those sorts of things. On the next page, we do have one comment. In the prior years, the required deposit to the replacement fund, has not been made. So we just do have a comment, just kind of noting that there are two methods that you can use to fund that account. One is, popping in an annual deposit. Another is a percentage method. So you take the total equipment and use a certain percentage, and that's what needs to be included in there. I do think you are underfunded using both methods. So that's just something to keep in mind as you go through, as you look through your future sewer projects. I know there might be a few on the horizon as you replace some items in the infrastructure to figure out what's the best method to use going forward to ensure compliance. And then the next section is a very fun and exciting read. I usually joke that if you have insomnia, it's a great thing to help put you to sleep. But it is the required communication to you all. So it talks a little bit about, that there are no new accounting policies or no new accounting standards that were implemented during the year. It talks about the accounting estimates that are included in your financial statements. If there are any significant unusual transactions, of which there were none, that there were no disagreements with management, that we're independent, and a lot of other kind of important information. But of course, if you have any questions as it relates to that, I don't want to bore you with all the details. But if you do have any questions as you go through it in detail, my contact information is included in that report, as is the contact information for the manager on the job. I'm happy to come here every year and chat with you about the audit. But, we want to hear from you throughout the year if you ever have any concerns or questions. So lastly, I have a few financial statement metrics, a 2-page document that was provided to you that kind of goes through the key metrics that we normally review as part of the audit. So firstly, as we look at the water utility, the water utility's rate of return was 1.39 in 2023. You were authorized at 3.5%. You were just approved a rate increase, May 2024. And that rate of return will go up to 6.8%. So you will have a nice bump in your revenues in 2024.
Can you explain the rate of return, Will?
Yeah, so the rate of return is what the PSC uses to, kind of as a baseline to determine when you're going to, need a rate increase. So it's kind of the portion of the return on your investment in the utility. It's generally meant to recover your costs of principal and interest payments and capital infrastructure. So when we went through the rate study, we had to calculate a revenue requirement. Your revenue requirement equals your O&M costs, depreciation expense on your utility finance plan, which is meant to recover, again, some of that capital infrastructure costs. And then the rate of return, which is a percentage of your capital infrastructure, your utility financed plan. All that taken together is meant to recover your cost to run the utility.
So would the rate increase will increase that actual rate of return?
It should, yeah, it should. You will probably, it's rare to see someone get at their actual approved rate of return or above it. Normally you hover a little below, and the reason for that is when you design your revenue requirement, you're normalizing a lot of costs. So your revenue requirement is really an average year, right? It includes like 1/15 of the cost of your next water tower painting. It normalizes the cost of probably some well upgrades or, but those large maintenance costs that don't come around every year. And, you're looking at, when you're going through the rate case, you're looking at 1 year. So you're not looking at future inflationary increases at all, or what could potentially happen. So it is a guess, it is our best guess. And I think they forecasted your revenue to increase about $256,000 with that rate increase over the year. That is an estimate, again, based off of that 1 year that they looked at and all the assumptions included in the rate case.
So that rate increase help our unrestricted reserves months on hand or not?
I imagine, yeah, it will help your cash balance. You do have some good, you've got 34 months of cash on hand, which is very good. It will increase your revenues. Your expenses have been increasing pretty steadily. It's what everyone's been seeing the last few years, just with the current market conditions and inflation. I think in 2022, there was quite a bit of an increase for fuel power for pumping, and there was some maintenance items. I think in 2023, you had some of the same costs. They just continued. So there wasn't a big jump from 2022 to 2023. You also had some water rate, the cost of the water rate study, and probably some other maintenance items. But your revenue has been increased. I think you had a simplified rate increase in 2022. That would probably give you a little bit of a bump that year for your revenues. Yeah, the unrestricted reserves generally, the GFOA recommends at a minimum 3 months. If you want to get a really good bond rating, we typically want to see 9 to 12 months. But you're sitting pretty good at 34. Your debt coverage, you're required to have 1.1 debt coverage ratio for the safe drinking water loans that you have. You have 3.58. That did decrease a little bit from last year because you did have additional debt related to the well project, but it still is a very healthy debt coverage ratio, which means you have more room for additional debt if you need it. And your debt to equity ratio, which normally we see on average for utilities around 50%. You generally want to see 50% or more financed by equity, 50% or less financed by debt. And you've got 31% financed by debt. It was 27% last year. And that difference is, again, that additional debt that was issued in the current year. So all in all, you have room here for additional projects if you need to issue more debt. you're in a pretty good spot for that, especially with the new rate case or rate increase that'll be effective in 2024. Moving on to the sewer. The top graph isn't as exciting as the water utility isn't as stable. There's a few little, a little bit of movement. So your rates were effective in the sewer utility in May of 2010. In 2022, you saw a bit of a jump in your expenses, and the expenses kind of increased over your revenues due to some sledge hauling and chemicals, some increases there, and then general inflationary increases for fuel, electricity, and some televising costs. The increase from 2022 to 2023, not too large. I think you had a lot of the same issues with general inflationary pressures, a little bit of maintenance, and then you had that civic system upgrade that was some additional costs. So moving on to your unrestricted reserves, you've got 13 months of unrestricted cash on hand. And again, we want to see generally 9 to 12 months at a minimum. That is including, there were a few years where you didn't have that replacement fund deposit that was moved to the replacement fund. So if you had made that each of those years, what had historically been made as your annual deposit, it would be closer to 8 months in 2023. So something to keep in mind because you probably will need to fund that replacement fund a little bit more in
Well,
the
we're gonna have
future.
to do it double dip now, aren't we? We're gonna have to do it for 23 and 24.
Well,
To Nicole question.
I think you haven't made the deposit since 2019. So that's the cumulative effect of all those years, so it would be around 8 months.
It's close to funded as the current plan sits. It's
Yes,
very close to funded as the current plan sits with the deposit method. I know we had a lot of emails about this.
Yeah.
But if we use the deposit method with a new plant, isn't really an effective strategy if you're taking a total. It's almost too hard to fund the upfront cost because you're looking at a lifespan of a plant. So 25 years we fund it slowly rather than, does that make sense?
I think so. And I mean, those funds you do have available to help with your system upgrades as well. So. And then when you have the new system upgrades, you will need to keep funding it. It'll probably increase the requirement.
We're
But it's hard to
at
say how much
we're at
until,
the end of life funding and we'll be starting a new cycle and potentially funding that
But
with a different method.
that number will probably go up then, won't it?
Yeah.
That
So-
we have to put in there?
There's a method based on your plant evaluation. So right now, like we have everything itemized. So right now, I want to say it's like 3.4 million is the plant evaluation that we have on record categorized. So that 3.4 is, I think it was 10. I don't remember the percentage. I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me. But the method we have, it's a smaller dollar amount. When you're looking at a larger dollar amount and then funding a percentage of that deposit every year, it looks like a completely different story coming into the century here.
yeah. And I think it will depend on, obviously, I don't know what capital upgrades you'll have and how that will impact your total number. Because with inflation, that number will be higher than what you had
Yeah.
before. And which one will be easier to ensure you get up to the right dollar amount. I know a lot of folks like the annual deposit method just because then they can use those funds easily. When you have the percentage method, you have to maintain that balance. And if you use any of the funds, then you have 3 years to refund it, I think. So it's a little bit more strict in that way. But it's completely whatever makes the most sense for you. When we move to the debt coverage ratio, you're at 3.72, so still healthy. You're required to have 1.25. And you are at, when you look at debt to equity, you've got 23% debt. I know as we've chatted before, when you see it get that low, it is normally indicative of aging infrastructure, which you already know you've got plans in place to do some major upgrades. So When you do have those large capital costs coming up, it is important to kind of look at your rates, figure out what the financing plan is, so that you can have kind of a long-term rate strategy, so there's not one large impact in any year. Once you have that plan for yourself. That's all I have. Do you have any other questions, or is there anything I can answer or help you with?
How do those numbers compare to other communities, like the unrestricted reserves for water at 34 months and the sewer at 13? Would you say how we compare to other communities our size?
I'd have to do a little bit of research probably to find that out. I mean, we recommend the 9 to 20 or 9 to 12 months at a minimum. I can't say what an average is.
So we're doing pretty good on water especially.
Water,
And that's the
yeah,
way it's always been, I think.
yeah. Well, you have the PSC that kind of makes sure that you, that a little bit of regulation does help. Yeah, hard to say. There are, I do have a statistical guide where they do look at that, that I could look at, but it is focused on electric utilities, but it can give you an idea. I can take a look when I get back to the office.
Any other questions on the 2023 audit? We need a motion.
I don't think, I just have, I don't think there's possible, just presentation and discussion.
Okay.
We're good.
Well, then thank you, and thank you for everyone at the utility. I know we bugged them quite a bit, and we had a pretty tight window this year, so we probably bugged them even more.
You guys were flexible too, we appreciate it.
And, you know, still able to get the PSC report filed on time, which was a positive. But we do appreciate everyone's help, because everyone is always very responsive and timely.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe
Have a
ride.
good,
Right.
Yeah, I think you too, thank you.
Oh, here we go. Next is water report, well, and distribution system report discussion.
Great, tower painting is underway. I think a couple people have circulated some pictures there. Corral is being built first, and then they're working on the internal and external structure. So we're waiting for, plans are gonna change daily based on the conditions of, the weather conditions mostly, weather and condensation and things like that, making sure that adhesion is good. The insulation was removed from the standpipe. I know this is one thing that we weren't able to know ahead of time, and inspected for our contract specs. There's an inspection letter that I handed out, and we did just get this in your additional, it says lane tank at the top. They call it 50% wear on the pipe. So something we probably have to look at in the future, if not as the project's underway. There's a pretty big price tag attached to it, but the standpipe that goes up the center has a pretty good amount of pitting on the outside and then wear on the inside. So there's areas of, I don't know, what would you call that? There's pitting plus like adhesion, like mineral adhesion
There's so
on the
much
inside.
manganese and
It's-
things stuck to the inside, putting the inside of it, and he goes,
So it's not great.
it's not the
terrible,
best
it's
he
not the
saw.
worst I've ever seen, but
He
it's
goes, but
probably a.
if we fix it now, it's X amount of dollars. No guarantees it's gonna make it 3 years, 5 years, 30 years without going to a different pipe. If it becomes an emergency, it becomes quite costly.
PVC is not an option with this?
That's what they're called for, Schedule 40.
It's a Schedule 40 steel, it's the thickness of it.
That's Schedule
The
40.
stuff we got now is about a 1/4 inch,
What's the diameter of that pipe, 12,
16, I think, going up.
and 16 all the way up?
Pretty sure. It's a big pipe.
And how many feet between joints?
I didn't ask, I don't know. I didn't ask what it was. He cut a hole by the sample tap, and then he must have stuck a camera in there and looked around and just,
I see they calling for replacing the expansion joint again. We just did that not too long ago, didn't we not?
1998, 1999, so that's what it says. It said on the insulation on the side there. So 20,
That's when it was painted, I don't know if we did the expansion.
I thought it was around that time. I wasn't sure. It was written on there somewhere. It was,
Did they mention anything about the well where we made a repair many years ago up there, right below the ball?
yeah, he said it must have popped in or something.
That's
and
because the expansion joint failed.
they were looking at that, you seen that, he had said that. I mean, that's structurally fine, you know. But he says this pipe, it's,
So the
he
question,
had a crystal ball, he said, you know, I don't know what to do.
Well, this came after, so I don't have it as a agenda item. I mean, the letter just came on the 28th, so it's not in the,
Did they
but it's
explain,
something to think about. I don't know how we can.
did they explain to you how they would do this?
Yeah, so they start at the top and they weld the sections. They start from the top and weld down section by
So
section.
they go from the inside of the ball all the way down?
Yep.
So they must have to have a crane to lift this down?
Yeah,
He's got some
Very
kind of
expensive.
rigging he was talking
Rigging
about. I didn't
equipment or,
understand it, how he had some kind of rigging that they put on the walls. They must weld, fab something and
Pulley
hold it in
system or
place. And
something.
I don't know how he was talking. I didn't,
I'm just trying to vision how they would do this on an existing
I don't
tower.
think it was a crane. I think it was some type of rigging on the inside. So like a block and tackle rigging he had. He's done it before. He says,
well, they're claiming it's $65,000.
yeah, and
So that's
it's,
going back to schedule 40, why would we do that? Oh, no, it is staying schedule 40.
I think it's something to write down and look into next time we paint the tower.
in the future, yeah. I didn't know how I wanted to bring it up just with future planning, I guess was the way I looked at it, but I don't know that we can just, and I also don't want to do project delay necessarily and push this further behind with the corn pack and,
Yep. How is their schedule looking for this so far?
the
they've only
rain
been here a
hasn't
couple
helped.
weeks right now. It's still
I'm
all
working
fab.
7 days a week? Yes.
It's mostly fab work now. Building that corral up on the top.
I think once I start painting, the painting part's gonna go fast, at least the,
They're gonna do the
Visual portion of
inside, the inside first?
Yes.
yes. And
But
then give
it's
that time for,
all weather dependent. Like now, you ain't doing nothing for a week. They can't pick the humidity, you know.
pick
humidity
the worst
stops
year on
work.
record for rainfall totals to paint a water tower, we'll go with that. Let's see here. So that's on record and something we can work in down the line too potentially for capital.
Did they say anything to you about the house we having odor problems when this thing goes back online? I know in 1998, we had that issue. I had to dump the tower full.
To do with the,
Aesthetically, it was not.
like the reaction with the paint,
Right.
okay. Oh, I can ask about that. I know what he did say to me was the paint that they even used 25 years ago, I think it was when they last painted the tower, is nothing that they use anymore. Nothing,
Okay, so
it's,
maybe they
hopefully,
got
it's a
something
different,
new and improved.
yeah, it's, I can ask him about that though. see
No,
if they-
right, I would do that, Courtney.
Okay. Paint odors. All right. Attorney Ferranti is looking into well and iron contracts with USG. We did make a little bit of progress. We finally got a hold of somebody from Water Wells with those contracts. After a few months of silence, so we're setting up a phone conference to negotiate the terms that we already had on the table, pulling all the wells in year 8 and potentially getting out of this contract. I haven't paid the bill for this year because they don't answer, so that was my one.
So you mean when the attorney asked them, they kind of got back to them behind you?
No, we found another contact there through USG and he was able to answer. The contact we have, I just sent an email the other day and his automated reply was, I'm out of office 3/26 to 3/28 and I'll get back on your return. So I'm like, that was a while ago, but, so we found somebody else on the chain that did reply pretty quickly and we put a little urgency on, getting well 4 online and completing those contracts. Not paying the bill might help too. We'll see. So more to come on those. Iron filter for well number 4 is set on 7/8. We will shut down Kikoski Street from Henninger to Grove. They're looking at about a 3 to 4 hour installation window for that. We will notify emergency services as well. The HMO system at well number 3 is essentially blown out 2 times this week. So future planning, we're looking for well revisions on getting that system fine-tuned. It's a disaster.
Is the well online?
Was it online?
Is it online? You didn't have to shut it down?
Yeah, no, I think just
We go out in the morning, we just have to build it all
you just walk into a
mess.
mess. And then new fitting a fabrication
And
project.
getting back to well 4, what, do you have an online date for that yet?
So iron filter comes and then they're looking at 3 to 4 weeks of pipe fabrication from that point. And then depending on negotiations here with USG too,
A lot of it's gonna be dependent to Haiti with them MCCs when we can get down.
and the
We don't know
MCC is
when
coming
they're,
in
cause
too. That's
it's
the
all
last
custom built stuff.
piece of the puzzle there. So I think anticipated online date was more like December of 24.
December?
But we are way ahead. That was the initial, we're way ahead of that. And I'm thinking more like September of this
Yeah, I
year.
thought, okay.
Late August, September would be a more reasonable quote because they're quite a few months ahead, short of the couple of items that have shipping or fabrication delays.
So the plan is if we don't get this pump pulled, we're still gonna use it as is?
Well, we also have a plan essentially to see what the consequences of, we have somebody ready if we were to contract because we need to have that well pulled.
Even if we don't pull it, they're gonna have to come and chlorinate and get it ready to go. It's probably
Yeah, you know
a
that,
week's
like
process to clean it.
I talked to you, that's our shortest well for as far as depth, 120 feet, I believe, that they can pull that in less than 1 day.
It all comes through that corporate. They don't, what they signed that contract 10 years ago, they never had a crystal ball to see what it cost in today's dollars.
So you plan on, if you get out of that contract, hiring somebody else to get in there and pull it?
Yeah, well, and we have somebody ready and available essentially.
And usually everything below the water line, you're gonna have to replace.
We just need somebody on it to put it back online, so, yeah, that's it. We're ready if we need to breach contract. Anything for water?
Anything else for
questions?
water? Now we'll move on to wastewater report.
All right, raw pump number 2, experience a VFD fail. We only had 2 pumps available to run during the, I think, most recent round of storms. Every week's a round of storms, but, and a third was able to run in hand for a short time. We're working on retrofitting a VFD in the meantime to keep the pumping operational. We would have been in some pretty big trouble in the last few weeks here without those. Boiler generator and lift station preventive maintenance and inspections are all complete for the year. The jetter hose, seal assembly failed, parts are ordered, wasn't advisable to use in the meantime. There's a hose that can blow off and injure somebody, so not that part we're using. A mutual aid agreement is in the works with Juno as well. We already have one with Lemira. Oricon was looking at revisions and we'll likely see an agreement for approval at our next meeting. Last item, our biggest challenge here that we've had recently is the loss of our alarm dialer. So you're familiar.
I've heard about it.
Yeah, so what happened, the city, I don't know if the city in its entirety, they switched over the phone systems from a dedicated phone line, and then everybody had these new phones installed. The part that was missed is that dedicated line was running our dialer. So we have alarms at the plant, but it doesn't have the capability to call us. So we have an appointment tomorrow, and fingers crossed with Spectrum to reinstall a dedicated line there. So basically, in the meantime, what's been happening is we've been a 24/7 operation. And especially with the storms, there's nothing. So we've had plenty of overnights at the treatment plant. And it's get them in there and we get them out as early as we can, but we still have work to do during the day. So we've balanced as well as we can in the meantime to make sure. So there was probably about a 25-day period where we didn't know that we didn't have a dialer. We came into a high sludge alarm, and it never called anybody. So we backtracked and started looking into IT and the logistics there and what might have happened. So
Well,
hopefully
that's been a
tomorrow.
while, hasn't it?
Mhm.
A month?
2 weeks, maybe.
Oh, 2 weeks.
2 weeks? I think 2 weeks.
Over 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully before the holiday here and we have a dialer again, especially,
Also, it wouldn't rain, it wouldn't be such.
I guess you never know what might
Yeah. so-
happen. It's a risk either way you look at it. but-
Especially with the tower down and only 3 wells running in the canning factory running bees.
Yeah.
Hate for a well to go down and you not know it, you'd run out of water in a hurry.
Suck
I
it,
mean,
suck
they're
it
using
in.
1 million gallons of water a day now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
pumps are running anywhere from 12 to 16 hours a day.
Yeah, any questions on?
I see the generator people were in checking out our backup generators. Everything okay with them?
Yep, they did just the annual preventive maintenance on all the generators. They have a couple of recommendations coming for us, but nothing
Okay.
too serious, he said.
Anything else on wastewater? Now we'll move on to discuss possible action regarding sewer rate study proposed by Ayers Incorporated.
It's kind of the one Bethany just talked about with the sewer rate study. I think you guys all knew this was coming as well with the project. So there's a Ellers proposal here to complete the sewer rate study portion of it, recommended by MSA. And this study is eligible to be included in the Clean Drinking Water Fund portion of it. So this is essentially accounted for in the projection as well. The total cost is $8,000 for the sewer rate
So we've already
study.
started, or, no, we completed a water rate study,
We completed the water, so this is the sewer side, and this
which
is kind
hasn't
of
been done since 2010.
2010 was the last time any rates were implemented.
We're looking for a motion to approve $8,000 some dollars to do a
On-
sewer rate
On the
study.
dot.
8,000 on the dot.
Mhm.
So move. I'll second.
Any further discussion?
How does this coincide with what we were applying for with the state?
Funding, so,
Yeah.
yeah, so this is part of it. This is Clean
Okay.
Drinking Water Fund eligible
Is that
repayment as well. Yep.
Okay.
Well, it'd be principal forgiveness, right?
You wanted to look at it, there's gonna be a principal forgiveness portion of the total funded dollar amount, so. That's it.
Any other concerns? Now we'll take roll call on that.
Engel,
Aye.
Yeoman,
Aye.
Levenow,
Aye.
Springs,
Aye.
Casspring,
Aye.
Bushki.
Aye. Discussion possible action regarding vehicle purchase proposal from U-Haul.
On to the next one. So last year in our capital planning, we had staggered the vehicles that we were replacing, and I know a few would have gone to auction here recently. Our water vehicle, there's a proposal on the back here of your packet. Sorry, your packet's kind of huge.
So the one you got is sewers?
Yeah, with the plow, well, it's kind of both because it's the plow and four-wheel drive vehicle. The water vehicle has a brand new transmission light in the last 6 months. We have it on the 2025, or we have had for a few years now, the 2025 capital improvement plan. So essentially Tim's truck for replacement. We brought it in, ran the codes on the light. It might die tomorrow, it might die in a year, it might die in 6 months. It's $1,500 to pull the transmission and see what might be wrong with it, and there's no guarantee they can fix it. It's had, from our records, it's had one engine dropped in it already. Does that sound familiar? So it's a 2007 F-250 with one new engine under its belt already, and I don't know about transmission. Mike, did you ever have anything? Okay.
So you're looking to move that up from 2025
Well,
to 2020?
Part of the deal with this one is too, we looked into it with Ewald. So the total price on that vehicle is, to go back, it was 41.
Yep.
41,000 and some change with our, discount here through
Is this a
the
3/4
government
ton or
discount.
a half ton?
Yeah,
It's a heavy half ton, still gets 6,800 GVW.
So we have
Pretty
a
heavy duty.
3/4 ton, isn't it?
I don't know why we have a need for a 3/4 ton. Our plow truck now is a 3/4 ton, so if you need to pull
I thought
anything,
maybe because of that rack with the weight.
you put an aluminum rack on. They lighten them way up, a couple hundred pounds.
You pull the trailer,
I usually, you could pull a trailer with it if you wanted to, but if we needed to pull a heavier trailer, we do it a 3/4 ton
oh, okay.
with the plow on, put the big truck on and use that if you really need to
and you're good for
plug a
valve
pump or
turning
something
too, right?
around.
What are you gonna do with the existing one?
Truck?
Yeah.
Want it?
No?
Well, maybe you missed your old one, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Kinda looked like it.
We've had pretty
Frame's
good,
still good, I think.
we've had pretty good luck recently with the auction block that we've been doing, and I did Blue Book. I don't know, I put that one in fair
I was-
condition, and it still gave me like
I was amazed
$4,000
what
to
we got for that
$6,000
Chevy.
on a return for it. The things we put on auction lately, I find strange that people are buying, but we'll keep selling them if it's gonna keep funding.
Do we just generally go to one place?
Ewald has been our best bet by far, so we've quoted other
They're,
bottles.
they're the easiest to work with municipal pricing,
Yeah, and
because
they're,
they're streamlined for fleet stuff, you
they're
know.
our contract with municipal pricing, so.
They
We
look
did,
fair on their pricing.
yeah, so
Yeah.
41 is kind of unheard of for
Yeah, we
for a
got-
truck
We
right
got
now.
the city, or the Parks Department, a $55,000 truck with a plow though, that's for,
I think,
so that's a smoking deal,
yeah, I think so. Well, their increase next year,
54,000.
Yeah.
they're changing the body style, so this is a 2024 model. Once they go to 2025, they're changing the body style in it, which I guess caused us a little bit of concern. You know, when you buy the first model of a new vehicle, you get a little concerned about it. She said the price increase for next year is 15 to 20% on that same vehicle with the new body style, so.
But more of a buyer's market now too.
So this is kind of something we've been kind of weighing back and forth. Is the water truck gonna last? Should we just go for it if we do it on January 1st anyway with your capital improvement plan? Is now the time to just fight on it rather than spend more?
I was gonna say, does that come in line with your capital improvement or? your-
Yeah, it's exactly
Drop one
like
down, right.
that we were gonna do, you know,
2025.
Yeah.
January 1 of 2025 anyway, but if we get a better deal if we do it now rather than later.
Correct.
Something with the ordering window as well is coming up real quick here, and once it gets that day, they won't make any more. From the 24th, they'll start switching to the new body stuff.
So what's your thoughts on that? We're looking for a motion to approve purchase of a new water truck.
I would make a motion to approve.
And Nicole said we do have the ability to refund that as well.
Second. So a motion, a second. Any further discussion or questions? Now we'll take roll call.
Engel?
Aye.
Newman?
Aye.
Levino?
Aye.
Frings?
Aye.
Passpray?
Aye.
Bushki?
Aye. Next meeting.
The reason this is on the agenda, we've been asked to participate in National Night Out with the Police Department at the Police Center. And it just so happens to be August 6th at 5 o'clock, from 5 to 8 o'clock. They wanted to do some things involving the community scavenger hunts where they have to come interact with, water and sewer departments as well. We like doing that kind of stuff and getting community involvement. And I think our whole crew is on board to volunteer for that event as well. So we were looking, there's openings on shifting in either 8-5 or 8-7 that Monday or Wednesday, or earlier potentially if it would work, but it's open to suggestions.
So you look at going
Either Monday or Wednesday.
Monday or Wednesday.
Can you have any city?
Yeah, I was thinking, when's council?
So that's the first Monday. You said there's the second Monday is council, right?
Yeah,
This is
second.
the first Monday of the month?
Yeah, we could do that.
So you're gonna do Monday or Wednesday?
I think I do.
Doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. Whatever you like, Monday or Wednesday.
You check yours, yeah.
Yeah.
Up to, I think either one's fine. Either one's fine with me.
And the National Night Out is the 6th, right?
It's August 6th and starts at 5 o'clock, yeah. So that's our normal meeting time, but,
The 5th, Monday? Monday the 5th at 6?
all right.
25th.
And I'm sure they'll be sending all that.
You want roll on that one? So here's a motion,
No, we don't need it.
you don't need one?
Everybody agreement on Monday the 5th at 6?
Perfect. Aye. Aye.
Next, we'll convene a closed session pursuant to section 19.85. Consider employment, promotion, and compensation, performance evaluation, data of any public employee over which this governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility. So need a motion and a second and one.
Monday. I don't know what time, when I see it arrive.
Second. To go into closed session, all in favor?
Aye.
Is that Jesse? Is this second?
Okay. Oh, you got it? You got them?
Bert's got the doors.
Door closing duties? All right. Who's the motion? Bert?
I did, Jesse.
Good.